Fluval have released a new filter, the Fluval FX2. If you're familiar with Fluval's FX range, you will know that the FX filter is an absolute beast. I have personal experience of using the FX4, FX6 and the older FX5. And it's interesting now that Fluval have released the FX2. One of the major complaints about the FX range was that it didn't fit into most aquarium cabinets, but this seems to be the answer to that complaint. I've already done a full unboxing video of this filter, so if you want a full unboxing you can see that video, the link will be in the description. But let's just quickly look at some key facts. We've got the volume of the aquarium this is rated to, 750 litres, and we have the output, which is 1800 litres an hour or 475 US gallons per hour, which is, I think you would agree, quite beefy. A really important thing to look at are the dimensions here. 34 centimetres across. You will notice that does include up to the pump there, so I will give you a dimension that way so you can see the smallest cabinet it can fit into. And there we have the height as well, 42 centimetres to the top, but obviously add a little bit on there for when you add your pipework. Somebody did ask me to do a measurement not including this pump. Obviously you can put the pump forward when you're putting it in a cabinet, you're not necessarily going to be putting it side to side. So yeah, if you put this canister in forwards with the pump going forward or the pump coming outwards, the minimum dimension is about 29 centimetres, so a little bit smaller than stated on the box. Out of the box we can see the filter canister itself. What I really like about it, I know it's just aesthetic, but you have this gloss Fluval inlay and it just looks really modern, doesn't it? I think the Fluval FX filter does look one of the most sleek and modern canister filters out there on the market today. We've got the smart pump here, we'll go into that in a little bit later. We've got our manual, got your warranty and some technical support details. We also have all of our parts. So generous amount of pipework. We have our tank connectors, so these allow us to put the pipework over the rim of the tank, keep it all snug and secure, not going to be coming out of that and onto your floor. These are the AquaStop valves, quite clever design, easy to remove with this button, and then we also have a flow adjuster on there, so you can adjust the flow of this filter should you wish to. Another thing this does is when you are doing your filter cleaning, you can remove your pipework, keep it filled with water and just take your canister away from your aquarium without any issues of removing water from the pipework. We also have this, which is double duckbill, fully movable. You can see it's on these little round ends and that allows you to move the flow throughout your aquarium in any direction. On the intake we have this very large intake strainer, 2 suction cups, and one of my favourite features is the fact that it's telescopic. This allows you to extend it and retract it to the required depth of your aquarium. You also get some hose clips and extra suction cups. So one of the biggest aspects of this filter, one of the things that differentiates it quite a bit from other brands is this pump. This is Fluval's smart pump and it is a very clever little pump indeed. Obviously one thing it does do to this filter is extend its profile quite a bit, so it can inhibit the cabinet that this will fit into. If we look at the sticker on the back, you can see that it is 27 watts. So I did a little calculation using the UK's current energy cost, which I think is 34p a kilowatt. So this pump will cost you around 22p a day to run. So I think it's like £6.60 or something a month to run this filter on your aquarium 24 hours a day. So it's okay in terms of price. Obviously it would be nice if the energy costs went down a bit, but it is what it is. 27 watts is also comparable to the Fluval 407. And that's a comparison which I think is worth noting because this filter does sit in a strange part of Fluval's range in that it, in my opinion, is either made redundant by the Fluval 407 or it makes the Fluval 407 redundant itself. They sort of fill in the same area of the market in my opinion. We'll take a closer look at those stats a bit later, but let's go back to the pump. That's how you remove it. So obviously there's 3 screws which hold it on, It's fairly heavy. It does make up most of the weight of the filter. And inside, so in here we've got a pretty meaty impeller, very strong magnet, and it can be removed and replaced. But to be honest, I've never had to replace a Fluval FX filter impeller. It has a ceramic shaft, and you can see it just fits into that area there. No issues replacing that should you wish to. And if you look, you can see the water inlets and outlets inside that. So pretty standard, isn't it? Very similar to how most pumps work. Obviously, the impeller is quite different design to a lot of other impellers. They normally have straight shafts, whereas this has got curved ones. I guess that must affect the flow rate, make it a more efficient impeller than others. Let's talk about a couple of the features of this pump. So firstly, being a smart pump, it will actually monitor the flow and output of the impeller, and it'll adjust its speed based on how full your filter gets. So as this fills up, normally in another filter that would restrict the flow, and obviously it will, but the smart pump notices it because of the resistance and increases the speed. So you try and get that constant flow rate as your filter becomes more and more blocked before you clean it. Another thing that this does is every, I think it's 12 hours, it will turn off, allow the air and bubbles and things that build up in a filter to rise to the top, and then after a minute it turns back on and it blasts it back into your aquarium. We'll have a little look at that bit when we get to the lid. So I think you'll agree, quite a unique and interesting pump system on this filter. So while it's on its side, we'll have a look at the feet here. We can see there are rubber pads, and this is to reduce the amount of noise and vibration you'll get from this filter. Now, I've always found the FX and just generally the Fluval filters to be quite silent. Obviously there will be some sort of humming noise. It's gonna make that because it's an electrical moving device, but the rubber feet help significantly, and I find that Fluval pumps do tend to be reasonably silent. Also, we can see the cabling here. Mine came with a 3-pin plug because I'm in the UK. I imagine if you're in another country, you'll get the correct plug for your electrical system. Moving on to the lid, we can see how it all operates. We've got 6 twisting handles. They allow you to get an even closure on your lid rather than just having some clips or other things, or even a band of metal that goes around the edge like other filters do. This gives you a nice, tight, even closure on that O-ring around the inside, which obviously helps prevent any leakage. The input and output are clearly labelled. I've got 2 O-rings there which lock tightly on your AquaStop valves, giving you a really good seal. And also, of course, we've got a flow adjuster, so if you do find this is too powerful, you can adjust your flow down and up should you wish to. One thing that this does allow you to do is remove your pipework from your filter. When you do some cleaning, you can just take the pipework away and you just remove your filter, so you can obviously clean it wherever you like to minimize mess on your floor. Normally, if you're in a house, you'd normally take it to a bathtub or you take it to your shower or something like that, where it can get messy, release all the dirt, but not affect your flooring, which is a really nice touch. So just open it up and you can see how these little clips work. The only issue I have with these is they tend to fall out sometimes, or at least they did in the FX4, and I find that a bit annoying. Looking at the lid, we can see the part which helps to remove the gases. As I mentioned earlier, the pump turns off, gases accumulate in the lid, and then when it turns back on, they get blasted out of here. At least that's what I think this does, and it allows the gas to be removed and then reduce the noise in the filter. The filtration is all arranged in these circular trays. This allows maximum amount of filtration to be put into these trays and reduces the amount of water that bypasses the media. A lot of people will criticize the amount of media that you get in this filter. Now look, there is room for more media. This, which is the biological media, isn't going to fill this tray, is it? Clearly not. I kind of expect when you buy a big canister filter like this to have to modify the filtration. It's nice that it comes with any media at all. Obviously most filters do, but yeah, you're probably going to need to buy some more biological filtration to put into this, because what it comes with is okay, but can be improved upon. Let's look at the media itself. So it has 2 handles. which allows you to remove all the baskets in one go. And then that leaves you with these two circular trays. They're pretty much the same design. These handles just get removed and then you can take the trays apart. This is the same design as the FX5, the FX4 and the FX6. They all had this circular tray design. It works really well. So outside you've got quite coarse white sponge for mechanical filtration. Then you've got a tray which removes for whatever you want, essentially. In this case it's biological filtration. Below it we have another sponge which is your fine mechanical filtration, and in the other one it's pretty much the same story. You've got some sponge and below that you've got some biological rings. So look, it's kind of the idea of a canister filter is you are the boss that creates the media inside. This is what it comes with. Is it brilliant? It's fine. It does the job. I don't tend to actually add anything to my FX filters because I find they work perfectly well with what it comes with. But lots of people look at this and goes, well, is that all you get in your filter? It is. And it is suitable for a reasonably well stocked aquarium. But I would probably put this bag in with the other bag. Then you have a whole other tray here which I'd fill with more biological media. And I might even put some filter floss in here. So something like this Serra filter wool, I'd add that in there as well. And that would be just a very simple, quick upgrade to the media that comes with it. But there we go, you can do what you like. And to put it back into your filter, you just slide it together and you put your handles back in. So it's a nice feature, this, because it stops you having to remove the individual trays or baskets one by one, getting water everywhere and so on and so forth. You can just remove it in one lump, which is excellent. So let's look inside the canister itself, the main body. We can see this is the outlet tube, and on the lid we have the inlet tube. Now the inlet tube sits here and the outlet tube is over here, so that means the water gets sucked through from the bottom. And we also have an O-ring here which stops water, when the baskets are in, going straight from the inlet through, bypassing everything straight into the outlet pump. Quite a clever design. Make sure that your media is all used to 100% of its capacity. I guess when the basket's in here, the water comes in here. There's obviously a seal here, so it makes the water go up over the top or through the sides of all that white mechanical filtration, hitting your internal baskets of all your biological and so on and so forth, and then it goes down through the bottom. So there's very little area where the media is going to be bypassed by the water. And obviously the mechanical filtration along the bottom is going to get filled up first, so as it gets more and more dirty, it's actually going to force the water further and further up and actually going through more and more of your media. So I would suggest not to clean your white sponges too much, too thoroughly, because that's what's kind of forcing the media to be used in its entirety. Not something I've seen on many external canisters. A lot of the time they don't have this O-ring. They just kind of rely on the fact that some water is going to go through some of the media and hope that it's enough to do your aquarium. This here is some active water direction, making sure that your media gets used fully, which is really quite interesting. And I guess this lump in the middle here, I guess that creates maybe a vortex effect to stop dirt settling. That's a guess. I mean, that is a total guess, but I don't know why there is this little nodule in the middle. If you look at a vortex filter, it does work like that. It makes it spin, and that's potentially, if you've got this filter sucking in here, you would get that kind of a vortex effect. The next part of the review is going to be it running on this aquarium. So if you want to see me do the setup of this canister filter, there will be a video posted shortly after this one where I do a full setup and so on of this FX2. Okay, so I've set the filter up. Part of the review is the filtration setup. Was it easy? It was actually pretty easy. I've done a video on the setup of this filter. If you want to watch it, I'll put that link in the description. It'll probably come out a week after this video, so it won't be there straight away. And yeah, it's pretty easy. You can see how I've done it. I've got mine slightly to the side, just going over the top there. We've got our outlet and inlet there. Ideally, you would have it below your aquarium, but this is just about low enough for that gravity fed system to work. But yeah, ideally you'd have it on the floor to the side, or you'd have it on in the cabinet here, because this tank, the Fluval shaker, is drilled, so we can obviously fit it to these fittings here, remove the 307 and, you know, cut off the smaller sections and add the FX filter to it. The FX2 will fit in this cabinet, and it will fit quite comfortably because this cabinet is 33 centimeters across, and as we just measured, that is 29 centimeters across. So we can now add an FX filter to the Fluval shaker. Before, the FX4 wouldn't fit in here, or it would, but it's such a tight squeeze, I didn't want to do it. So that's great news. We can now put an FX filter on here, and it now begs the question, what is the point of the Fluval 407? Obviously that's the 307, that's what this tank comes with, but you might have previously only bought the 407 because the FX4 doesn't fit in here. Now the FX2 does. Why would you ever buy a Fluval 407? And this is a question I don't really understand, sort of why this filter exists now, or not this filter, but why the 407 exists. It's a weird overlap, isn't it? Because price-wise, the Fluval 407 is a bit cheaper than the Fluval FX2, but the Fluval FX2 beats the 407 in every way. You know, it's got more media, it's got more flow, it's got better inputs and outputs in my experience. Just generally, as a whole package, even though it's a bit more expensive, it's far better than the Fluval 407. So at that point where the 407 and the FX4 meets, you have the FX2, and that makes the Fluval 407 redundant now. Very strange. I don't know. I don't have an answer. Obviously, the 307 and below are still kind of required because there are smaller aquariums. So as we can see, the flow rate is excellent. Things are getting blown around, they're getting moved, and that's exactly what I wanted. Now this tank is a 250 litre tank, so this is rated to 750. If anyone's wondering, can it go on a 200 litre tank? Yes, it can. Obviously this is a marine tank and they like the extra flow. Some fish don't, so it might be overpowered for some fish, but I would say this is definitely suitable for 250 litres upwards. Below that you'd obviously use your more 307s, 207s and so on. Compared to the FX4 and the FX6, the difference being the FX6 is basically twice that. Everything that has, the FX6 is double and the FX4 is in between. You know, I would probably, if the cabinet wasn't a consideration, let's say, I would go for the FX4 over this one because they're roughly the same price, right? This is 225 quid, the FX4 is 230 odd. But the FX4 has more of everything, more flow, bigger media chambers and so on and so forth. So yeah, take that into consideration. This exists, I think, so that you can put an FX filter into a cabinet like this. Another thing that this doesn't have compared to the bigger FXs is the outlet valve here. You've got a drain valve, allows you to do water changes, also allows you to put the Fluval gravel cleaner onto it, so you can do your powered cleaners straight into your filter. You can't do that with the FX2. That is not something that I've ever worried about. I don't think I've ever used the outlet on my more modern FX4, but I did on the FX5. It was something that I used for water changes, so I can see the value in it. So that is also missing here. So interesting, isn't it? I mean, I'm really pleased with it. It's definitely going to make a huge difference on this tank. I need to do a little bit of caliper trimming now because it's getting blown all over the place, but the flow rate is insane on it for a tank this size. In a bigger tank, maybe 400 litres, this would be absolutely amazing. I probably wouldn't use it on a 750 litre tank. I don't think it would do enough for that size tank. I'd probably definitely upgrade to an FX4 or an FX6, but I think, like, in reality, this sits usable between 200 to maybe 450 volume wise. In my opinion, obviously it's rated on the box for 750, but I think once you get past 500 litres, you're probably going to be looking at an FX4 if not an FX6 anyway. You know, most tanks of that size have bigger fish in it, require more filtration, and don't think that will cut it. This will cut it if you're only going to be doing a 500 litre tank full of neon tetras or something, but once you start getting onto Malawis and other big cichlids, probably go for an FX4 and FX6. So this sits, in my opinion, in the same region as the 407, slightly maybe a bit ahead of the 407, but yeah, it's good, isn't it? I'm pretty pleased. It's obviously not installed in the ideal way. Ideally it'd be down there, pipe work going through the base, or if you haven't got that set up, you'd have it at the backs, yeah, you'd have it hidden away. But this is how I've got it, because this is how it works for me, and it's working really well. I'm going to be doing a more long-term review on this filter in another video. So basically what I'm going to be doing is showing how increasing filtration in my tank is going to reduce the issues of hair algae. So we're going to be following this filter over the next couple of weeks to months in another video. But what do you think? I mean, what do you reckon? It's in an odd place, isn't it? I love it. It's in an odd place price-wise compared to the fact that it's only a $5 less than the FX4, and it's in an odd place specs-wise with how the 407 overlaps with it. It's a strange one, isn't it? It's a strange one. We'll have to see how the market reacts. I mean, personally, what I would do is completely remove the 407 and just stop at the 307, and then everyone who needs a 407 just buys an FX2. Maybe that's the idea. I don't know. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please leave a like and also subscribe to my channel. Once again, thanks for watching, and happy fish keeping.